In today's news, two men are now in police custody and slapped with multiple charges following a police car chase.
Laptops and waived stamp duty added to stimulus package and Premier League to restart on June 1st. These and more stories when 284 News returns.
We understand that you cannot come to the store and encourage you to stay at home. If you need assistance with bill payments, top-ups, or troubleshooting, we are here to help. Call us at 444-4444 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, or visit our website at www.cctbvi.com. Click Top Up here or My CCT for top-up or bill payments. Social distancing with CCT.
Welcome everybody. It's Monday, May 11th, 2020. I'm Ron Grant.
And I am Javon Wilson. Once again, I'm very pleased to be joining you for another edition of 284 News. Now, Ron, over the weekend, some really great news for health in the BVI.
Yes, we're going to begin by letting the people know that Deputy Premier and Minister of Health and Social Development, the Honorable Carvin Malone, has announced that a fourth person has recovered from COVID-19 in the British Virgin Islands. The Ministry of Health and Social Development made the determination in accordance with guidance of the Caribbean Public Health Agency. During his statement, Honorable Malone also stated that the 13 additional test samples sent to the Caribbean Public Health Agency this week resulted in negative outcomes, bringing the total number of samples to 167 for the 143 individuals. The BVI epidemiological summary is as follows: 167 samples from 143 total persons tested, including retested, 160 negative samples, 7 confirmed positive, 4 recovered, 2 active, and 1 death. Honorable Malone said, and I quote, "All the preemptive actions taken by the government and every BVI business, household, community, and individuals have resulted in the success we have achieved thus far in controlling the transmission of the virus that causes COVID-19. Health system capacities are in place to detect, isolate, test, and treat every case and trace and track every contact." Very good news for us here, Jovan, in the British Virgin Islands.
Certainly, and we are still at the bottom of the list as we consider the world statistics, Ron.
Yes.
Currently, we have 2.8 million persons infected across the world, and we are seeing 194,000 deaths, as you can see across the screen. So it's a lot going on across the world. We're very grateful, and like Honorable Malone said, Ron, all of this just because of the actions, the proactive measures that were in place, and of course the collective actions from the health officials across the territory. So we just want to say kudos as we continue to monitor what's happening on the international scene as well.
Indeed, and today was the first official day back to a full day of work for many Virgin Islanders. We hope each and every one of you are having a great day, and we thank you for tuning in. Now topping our newscast today, Premier and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Andrew A. Fahie, has commended Border Protection and law enforcement agencies for their efforts to ensure the safety of the territory's borders and safety on land. Premier Fahie said, and I quote, "I need all of us to understand that there is zero tolerance for nefarious and illegal behaviors in our waters. I know that you understand this, and you will all do your part to keep the BVI safe." The Premier added that the few incidents reported were because of the efforts of the law enforcement agencies and a compliant community. He added, and I quote, "Our good behavior around the borders and on land, coupled with the fine work of our joint border control authorities, namely members of the customs, immigration, and police teams, have showed that together we will always achieve more." He continued by saying, "I want to encourage our people in this territory to continue to work hard, continue to live in unity, and continue to show BVI love to our neighbors and have zero tolerance for crime." The Premier further congratulated residents on their conduct as a territory responds to COVID-19. He said, and I quote, "We have all read the stories of other countries and territories where crime has escalated during this COVID-19 era, especially during the curfew periods, to the levels where military assistance was requested on land and for the borders because it was needed in those areas." Last month, the Cabinet of the Virgin Islands approved a temporary redeployment of immigration and customs officers to join the task force of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force for the COVID-19. Jovan, Ron, I have to echo the sentiments of Premier Fahie and just thank, these are frontline workers and they've been protecting our borders. So kudos to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, VISAR, Customs and Immigration for doing their part in protecting our borders.
I certainly agree with you, Ron. And now one of the things I want to commend as well is the joint efforts between Customs and Immigration. Here we see the public services being retooled and repurposed to meet the new needs. We know earlier on in the lockdown as well, 2 persons were apprehended. They were quarantined. That's via the sea, of course. They were quarantined in town. However, we see now they're awaiting custody. But one of the concerns we had was that the fact that they could have possibly compromised not only the health of our citizens, but also the efforts of the government and health officials across the territory to flatten the curve and to ensure that no other person becomes infected. So really good job to the officials in question. Viewers, we're going to go to a really quick break and come back with more news.
Eco? Everyone is speaking about eco-friendly products. We wanted to take the time to introduce the Eco Island brand. Eco Island is a brand dedicated to providing you with a reliable and cost-effective solution. Eco-friendly products for your restaurant, hotel, bar, office, and home. With takeaway trays, bags, cups, paper straws, cutlery, and cleaners. For more information, follow us at Eco Island 100.
Is business slow, cash flow down, hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Viewers, and what could be considered one of the most bizarre incidents captured on camera here in the British Virgin Islands, we see 2 men on Friday trying to escape the police by literally reversing in the East End area. We're going to go to a quick clip of it if you hadn't a chance to see it as yet.
Hey, boy, play! Hey, boy, play! He's the... Look! Have I played? Look! Have I game play with son? Look, come on, D! High speed chase and taller boy. But we boss it, But we boss it. Ing!
Now, viewers, as you can see in the video, the chase, which began around 12 p.m. on Saturday, not Friday, that's May 9th, saw the men in question literally trying to escape the lawmen by reversing through the streets of Fat Hawks Bay, leaving residents across the territory simply stunned. Now, not only were they eventually apprehended, but the police also discovered an undisclosed amount of cannabis in the vehicle. The suspects have since been identified as Mr. Shannon John and Mr. Makibo Fahie, as you'll see on the screen shortly. Now, today's official release from the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force says, quote, Shannon John, 34 of Little Dix Hill, and Makibo Fahie, 24 of Greenland, were jointly charged with unlawful possession of a controlled drug. John was also further charged with traveling backwards with a motor vehicle more than requisite, reckless and negligent act, failure to stop at the sound of a siren, driving an unlicensed vehicle, and driving an uninsured vehicle. Now, they both remain in police custody pending their appearance in the magistrate's court. So, Ron, almost, I think like a scene out of a movie.
Actually, yeah.
Here we see a very blatant attempt to defy law and order by these 2 men. Not only did these guys, upon hearing the siren, try to evade police, they were in an unlicensed car, they were in an uninsured vehicle, like we said earlier before, plus they had drugs in their possession. So it's really frightening, but I think what's even more frightening about this entire ordeal is the fact that they could have easily endangered the lives of so many other persons using the roadways. And as a result, residents across the territory are calling for them to face the full blunt of the law. So again, we just want to say
Very
a big
unfortunate.
kudos to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force for really getting a hand on this before it escalated any further.
I agree.
All right, viewers, we're going to go to a quick commercial break and we're coming back with more news.
We understand that you cannot come to the store and encourage you to stay at home. If you need assistance with bill payments, top-ups, or troubleshooting, we are here to help. Call us at 444-4444 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, or visit our website at www.cctbvi.com. Click Top Up here or My CCT for top-up or bill payments. Social distancing with CCT.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, 22 Vincentian workers returned home to St. Vincent on Friday from the British Virgin Islands. The group was welcomed on arrival by Chief Medical Officer Dr. Simone Bish, who, as well as other health professionals, walked them through the registration and health checks. Now, Dr. Bish said the local authorities had received information on these persons prior to their arrival in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. She said that they were required to submit their names and passport numbers to verify that they are Vincentians, and then a process was carried out to determine whether or not their homes were appropriate for quarantine. The CMO disclosed that for persons who did not meet the requirements for home quarantine, the authorities found suitable accommodations for them. Before going through immigrations at the AIA, which is the airport in St. Vincent, the group was registered and basic checks were administered, such as temperature checks. They were also asked about signs and symptoms of COVID-19, including cough, fever, and shortness of breath, and any other possible exposure to anyone who might have had COVID-19. The Vincentians also had their blood taken for a rapid COVID-19 antibody test. Now, Dr. Beach said if during the initial assessment anyone was found to have a temperature, they were swabbed immediately for PCR. Now, following the checks, the CMO said that the group had their hands cleansed before going through immigration. Persons collected their luggage and were allowed to leave in a prearranged transportation to their homes or to quarantine sites prepared for them. She added that persons were instructed that they should sit in the arranged transportation, where they should sit within the arranged transportation and ensure that their masks never come off until they arrived home or at the quarantine facility. Now, Minister of Health in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Mr. Luke Brown, said that of the 22 persons who returned from the BVI, 18 were allowed to quarantine in their homes or in prearranged accommodations for that purpose, and 4 were sent to a quarantine facility. St. Vincent and the Grenadines currently has 8 active cases of COVID-19. Now, Ron, this is a conversation we've been having on the surface here within the British Virgin Islands, in light of the fact that 75% of the population happens to be that of expatriates. One of the concerns, or one of the points of conversation of recent has been when will persons be able to leave if they want to leave? We know that the Minister of Labor announced that nobody will be forced to leave, but a situation arises where persons are out of job, and if you are for 3 months, that poses an additional risk. So here we see persons being granted the opportunity to return to their homeland if in that situation, it might be the best option for them. And
I do think, Jovan, that we're going to continue to see more of this. Persons who are desirous of traveling back to their hometown once they afford the opportunity, once they are afforded the opportunity. I do think that with the lack of employment, it's particularly in the tourism industry, those who are desirous of it, I think we'll begin to see more of that. And I think it's only fair for those who care to return home for whatever reason that they be granted that as well.
Certainly.
Premier and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Andrew A. Fahie, has announced that laptops will be provided for students and teachers and that stamp duty will be waived for purchasing of lands by belongers as part of the territory's economic response to COVID-19. Premier Fahie said, and I quote, "We are aware that there are some students who do not have all equipment they need to function effectively in this new type of learning environment. As a result, and to support their online schooling, as well as a few teachers who have the same needs, Cabinet realized the need for an economic stimulus response in this area as well." The Premier said Cabinet has approved the waiving of the tender process to purchase 500 laptops for students and teachers to support online education. It was also announced that the contract in the amount of $138,800 was awarded to Infinite Solutions for the supply of the laptops. Meanwhile, in addressing the waiving of stamp duty, Premier Fahie said the government recognized the need to ease some of the financial burden of residents who would be in a position to purchase property during this COVID-19 era in a manner that encourages the properties to remain in local hands. The Premier said Cabinet agreed on the amendment of the schedule of the Stamp Duty Act to allow for the waiver of stamp duty fees payable on sale or transfer of property by a belonger, no matter the amount, even if it's just a transfer of love and affection. He added, and I quote, "We are glad to know that during the COVID-19 era that we can help our people who may be in a position to purchase lands, or if there is a need for a transfer, that we can waive the stamp duty fees to belongers only. The other areas of this initiative will be forthcoming." Premier Fahie gave the assurance that the economic stimulus is coming and is in its final stage prior to release. He said, and I quote, "The overall response is being tweaked so that it is practical, realistic, and gets into the hands of the people in an accountable and transparent manner," the territory's leader explained. Additionally, Premier Fahie mentioned that other parts of the stimulus response have already been rolled out, such as the fishing and farmers stimulus of $2 million approved by Cabinet, the free water delivery to water and sewage customers who have interruption in service from the government's water distribution system, the house-to-house garbage collection, and laptops for students and teachers to facilitate online education. Now, Jovan, as residents listened to the Premier's statements, many have raised questions as to the stability of what has so far been presented. Some of the concerns stated by residents are as follows. Why is water delivery and garbage collection included in a stimulus package? Are these not essential services a government should already be providing? One of our viewers said in a Facebook comment, and I quote, "Shouldn't we be looking at ways of direct interjection into the economy, such as methods of getting cash into the hands of small businesses so they are able to keep staff and maintain business expenses?" Another blogger said, and I quote, "It is a disgrace that the Premier is trying to convince us that giving away 500 laptops should somehow be included in a stimulus package." Now, on the decision by Cabinet to waive the 8% stamp duty fee on all land transfers or purchases between a belonger, including many persons are concerned that land grab is more imminent now than ever and could cause a free-for-all as well as a high level of anxiety for land purchases amidst the economic impact of COVID-19. Now, Jovan, if we look at our fellow Caribbean counterparts and their stimulus packages, they all seem to be more focused on short-term economic goals that will put cash in the hands of small businesses. Other Caribbean countries' stimulus package models also include loan payments, moratoriums, waves of cost reduction of essential services such as electricity, customs duty moratorium, the establishment of interest-free or very low interest loans for existing micro and small businesses. We see where St. Kitts and Nevis as well as Barbados have created other incentives to encourage businesses not to lay off their workers, as well as putting policies in place where landlords are not allowed to evict tenants. Now, it is important, viewers, to understand that, and for us to remember, the purpose of a stimulus package is to serve as an interim framework to guide government's social, economic, and fiscal response to the immediate and short-term needs of the territory. And although this is just the beginning of Premier Fahie and his government's stimulus plan, many are simply asking if this is substantial and what has been presented thus far, is it realistic?
A lot of legitimate concerns coming here from the members of the electorate and by default the residents of the
Yes.
British Virgin Islands. Ron, like the BVI, countries across the region and the world has been heavily impacted. But what we find is it's a similar trend. We are suffering at the same rate.
Of course.
Meaning all of us have lost jobs, businesses have been forced closed, borders, tourism has come to a complete halt. So we're all affected very similarly, and I'm sure residents are looking to the other regions, even though these packages were personalized to meet
Yes.
those individual needs, somewhat really speaking to the main needs across the region. So, and a lot of persons are suffering, Ron, and that's
Indeed.
the reality. Persons really genuinely do not have money to pay their bills. Every month, landlords are looking for their rent. Every month, the banks are looking for their mortgages. So it really trickles down, and
It's a domino effect, yeah.
you're looking to the persons who are in charge, and that happens to be the government. A lot of persons have said with the packages that have been introduced, which is the 500 laptops as well as the 8% the stamp duty that has
waiver,
been
yes.
waived, is it a priority at this point? And I guess that's why persons are seemingly a little unnerved.
Indeed, and again, this is just the beginning of the stimulus package. Premier Fahie has continued to reiterate that it will be coming out in phases and more is to come, so we will continue to wait patiently on him and his government's announcement. Still ahead, Premier League to restart June 1st. I know you guys can't wait to miss this story, as well as an international story coming out of Guyana Election's debacle continues. All this and more when 284 News returns.
Are you a business owner? Business owners are very busy thinking on ways to grow. Wouldn't you like a vendor that makes life easier? P3 Paper Plastic Products offers 24-hour WhatsApp ordering. So, whether you're on vacation, at a sporting event, or, I don't know, forgot, P3 Paper Plastic Products has got you covered with great prices, better service.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now we're following news in the region all the way from Guyana. Now amidst all the political tension and fear-mongering for Guyana's 2020 elections, the ruling party, which is a Partnership for National Unity and Alliance for Change APNU AFC coalition in Guyana, said that the recount of votes cast during the regional and general elections has uncovered a pattern of contamination by the opposition's People's Progressive Party. Now, quite a loaded statement coming out on Sunday evening, but some of the bigger allegations, viewers, from the party says that the recount has uncovered votes cast in the name of deceased people, unsigned oaths of identity, a person living abroad voting, and votes casted in favor of the government being deemed spoiled. The party said that these discrepancies are happening almost exclusively in PPPC strongholds. Now, the party said, quote, "What is emerging even at this early stage is that there is a systematic effort by the PPPC on election day to corrupt the electoral process and to fraudulently cause votes to be registered for that party while seeking to disqualify votes for APNU AFC. This is an attack on the credibility of the electoral process by a single political party, the PPC, and its agents and co-conspirators," the party said. Now, the APNU AFC said it is committed to the recount process as, quote, "as it is unmasking the PPPC's attempt to contaminate and rig the March 2nd, 2020 elections. The nations and the whole world are to witness this in real time via the live streams," end of quote. The APNU AFC is concerned that PPP officials who are likely to have been involved in rigging this process on elections day are now presenting themselves to the media, conducting interviews and updates in a last gasp to, quote, "spin, cover up, and mislead the Guyanese public." The party is now urging all stakeholders to call on the PPPC to desist from bold-facedly lying to the Guyanese people. Now, APNU AFC has also called on the U.S., the United Kingdom, and Canada, as well as the European Union, to revoke the visas of the opposition politicians who, quote, "are being exposed as the true riggers of the March 2nd election." The party said Guyanese should remain alert about attempts to rig these elections. And Ron, we think about the situation in Guyana amidst the political climate, the word rig is certainly the word that has been heavily used since members of the electorate headed to the polls on March 2nd to vote for their respective
Yes.
parties. Now, 2 months later, and it's
Wow.
actually over 2 months later, way too long. The country still awaits the results as we know it. And amidst all the political unrest, the scramble for the oil industry as we know it,
Correct.
and now COVID-19, residents are just at a point where they need a resolve sooner rather than later.
Jovan, I cannot imagine what the residents and the people of Guyana are facing at this time. Again, a little over 2 months. And it's very unfortunate. We see where situations being rigged or political unrest all across the region. But for it to last this length of a time, I definitely think it's unfortunate, and it should not be at the expense of the Guyanese people.
I agree with you, but Ron, as a Guyanese, I can speak on this as well.
Yes.
It really underlies a bigger issue, and it's the racial divide.
Yes.
And how that is capitalized on by politics and politicians, especially in times of elections. And this is the unfortunate reality that we see here in Guyana. For 23 years, the PPPC ruled Guyana, and that was followed by a vote for change, which happens to be the APNU AFC government. Now we see one election later, a scramble almost for who will be leading the country forward in this new oil era.
Well, we do hope that there will be some settlement in that issue sooner rather than later. And closing our newscast today, breaking news for all sports fans. ESPN has reported that the Premier League has been given the go-ahead to resume behind closed doors from June 1st by the United Kingdom government. This announcement was made on Monday. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson set out a roadmap to ease lockdown restrictions during the coronavirus crisis on Sunday evening, and a full report has since been released. The 50-page document includes, and I quote, permitting cultural and sporting events to take place behind closed doors for broadcast while avoiding the risk of large-scale social contact. But this cannot happen before June 1st. The document, entitled Our Plan to Rebuild the UK Government's COVID-19 Recovery Strategy. The document says lockdown measures will only be eased once certain measures have been met. In any case, no spectators will be allowed at matches should the Premier League return, with the league's 20 clubs set for a vote on whether it's to resume the season in the next few days. England's top division has been suspended since March 13th, and there is as yet no consensus surrounding how or if the 2019 to 2020 season will start. There are 92 Premier League fixtures to be played, with clubs now back in training and training grounds, although while observing the government's social distancing guidelines. Fans in football stadiums may only be fully possible significantly later, depending on the reduction in numbers of infections, the report states. Now, additionally, some venues which by design crowded and where it may prove difficult to enact distancing may still not be able to reopen safely at this point, or may be able to open safely only in part. England's top division and other leagues around Europe have until May 25th to outline the UEFA their detailed plans to start football matches again. The Bundesliga will become Europe's first major football league to resume during the coronavirus pandemic when it starts again this weekend. Jovan, I am in awe at how much sports is such a huge part of our life and how we entertain ourselves. And I do know that sports fans all across the world, they're having a difficult time because they're not able to sit and enjoy their sports. But here we see where the Premier League maybe possibly opening as early as June 4th. Very big news for sports fans all across the world.
Yeah. Huge news. And trust me, this is not just for y'all men. I mean, a lot of women are
Of course,
celebrating
yeah.
too. I'm happy
Who are we going to watch the sports with? Yeah, so hey.
I know persons now have a lot of time on their hands, and that has compounded the issue. But really speaking to, like you said, great entertainment. And I think that like we've seen a shift. So definitely won't be games per usual, but certainly the games continue. And I mean, who wouldn't be happy about this? All right, viewers, that is it for today's news roundup. Be sure to follow us for daily news updates. at 284media.com. You can also like us on Facebook at 284media, as well as 284BVI on Instagram, as well as Twitter. My name is Javon Wilson.
And I'm Ron Grant. We'll see you again tomorrow as we deliver your daily dose of local, regional, and international content. We're 284 News, your source for honest and impartial news right here on 284 Media. Happy Monday, everybody. Nice seeing you again.
Father Jesus, that line here long like church service.
Alright, do enjoy the rest of the day. Next customer line, please. Wait, hold on a second.
Yes, Sonny boy, come, yes, son.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sonny boy. Hold on there. You must have cut fun topic.
It's okay, I'll take care of it.
What? No man to take care of me.
How may I assist you? You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the premium